Hi, I'm Joan Cartan Hansen. Thank you for joining us for this Dialogue Web Extra. We're talking about the health of Idaho's public school systems in the state. One of the things that came out in the news recently was the cost of online education classes. It's going to cost small districts far more than it costs big districts, although big districts have a lot of students to pay for. What does that mean if we are now going to require schools to provide students with 2 online classes a year?
Well, we obviously want our students to have the opportunity to take those classes and take advanced placement and those type of things, but there's a disincentive built in there when they take your attendance away from you and your finances. So I think that there's going to be a tension there between trying to provide that for your students and at the same time know that when you do that you're losing your revenue. And so I think that people are aware of that, and I think they're going to try to work on that with the blended classes and things like that.
There's some pieces of the law that simply don't work well for school districts. One is the current definition of blended as being 51% of the course must be online. I mean, really good blended education is a quality teacher at the front of the classroom with all those tools and using the online resources. The other one that is really big and particularly will be hard-hitting to small districts, and we've already heard from a lot of our colleagues down in southeastern Idaho, is the requirement in the law that the teacher teaching the online class cannot be in the building. So a number of us have been working with the state board and others to try to suggest some changes in that to make it really manageable for districts to be able to provide the online opportunity for their families.
So, for instance, if you have a district where you have more than one high school, a teacher in one high school can teach the asynchronous class to students in another high school, and that's okay. But in small districts where you only have one high school and that's where your IE line is, you have no place to go to teach back to your own students. So, so that's unhelpful.
I would just give an even more specific example. We have the Idaho Education Network at Eagle High School. It's a sending school. Our calculus class is sent to a number of other students around our district and to rural Idaho. The students sitting in the class at Eagle High School under the current law cannot get credit for taking the online class because they're sitting in the room. The other students can get credit for that because the teacher teaching them is not in their building.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
What have you found on online education in your district in American Falls?
Well, we're still looking at that. You know, the idea behind online education, I think, is a good idea, but sometimes working through the regulations and the rules make it more difficult than what it really should be.
Is there any I'm sort of going off of our survey, but is there, to talk about online education, I've not been able to find any research that backs up the idea that online education is a better alternative for all students. Is there any evidence out there that it is?
I think the all students, no. For some students, yes. I think your high-end students can do very well there. Our experience of using IDLA and online courses, correspondence courses over the last few years is that the lower functioning students do not do well. They do not, and we like our at-risk students to be able to have those opportunities, but they don't do well because it takes self-motivation and a lot of focus on that class. And so I don't think it works that well for everybody.
That's really the reason why we have to have a good definition of blended, because if all students are going to take that, we've got to provide a safety net for the students to whom that doesn't come easily through the form of a teacher who can come in and do activities and application and support to them. And that's why I believe it's very critical that we be able to have the right tools to make that work.
Now, so do you anticipate that, as well as perhaps a funding issue on the distribution formula, some of the key issues we'll see at the legislature?
I think the legislators, at least what we heard, is they're going to be very, very reluctant to do anything with this, with these bills because of the upcoming referendum.
And that's and ask the referendum, all of these measures, the online measures, the technology measure, the change in the funding, pay for performance, the negotiation are all going to be on the ballot
Correct.
in 2 years, not this November, but
2012.
November of 2012. So get ready for that show. We'll be doing that show. Let's give this phone call a try. We've been having trouble with the machine. Let's see if we can get this person on the air. Hattie, are you there?
Yes.
Yay! We got it to work. Thank you, engineers. Hattie from Rathdrum, go ahead and ask us your question.
Yes, I am Dr. Hattie, and I am wondering, when we're talking about remedial students and over too many kids in the classroom, if we're not missing one of the gems that I find, at least in my community, is use the skills of retired teachers that want to come occasionally, once a week maybe, or have a time frame, and just to be part of the team of educators that are doing such a fine job with no money.
Volunteers. Schools can't exist really without them. Thank you for your call. I'm glad the machine worked. Thank you for hanging in there too to get this thing. Is the problem in volunteers not that they aren't there, but you don't have anybody to supervise them or organize them or make sure that they know where to go and to give them the support? Is that where we're at?
Well, we use volunteers in our building all the time,
Yeah.
and they are great help. You know, especially with a hands-on class and things like that, especially in the elementary. So, yeah, we would love to have those resources, and we reach out to the community all the time, to the seniors, to see if they can come in and help us. And so we're always, you know, welcoming those folks in. We need their help.
That we have many kinds of volunteers, and we, you know, it's an open door and very invitational. We have businesses that allow their employees to come, give them time off to come and work. We have foster grandparents who are retired seniors who come and work faithfully every day of the week. We have lots of parent volunteers and others, so our doors are wide open for anyone who wants to volunteer and come and help be part of the solution.
I think that's true in most schools. They welcome any hands that will come, and any people that love to read and sit with children and read, and you know, just whatever they can offer.
And let me finish our web extra here with another round of questions for everybody on the group. And again, we'll start with you in American Falls there, Dallas. If the legislature is what we've discussed earlier, not going to make any changes, how will that impact districts the next year round?
Well, of course, there's some of this law that still has to kick in, and you know, we've projected out a couple of years, and it appears that that due to the legislation, we'll lose an additional, well, looks like about 3 or 4% this upcoming year in funding from the state that we'll have to make up from somewhere. So that'll make an additional stress on our budget that's already, you know, fairly thin. As far as some of the other implementation stuff, we're going ahead and implementing as though that it's not, because that's the only thing you can do. And then if it is reversed somehow through some process, then we'll have to figure it out at that point.
We'll jump this way.
Well, we're going to have to cut another staff member or two, cut down on classified, consolidate some more, maybe have to consolidate another classroom in the elementary. We don't know yet, but we do know that we're going to have our funding cut. And we know that that's going to be another, trying to figure out how we're going to do that. And we can't go anywhere to find it. We've already tried 3 times with levies and failed. So we know that that's probably not going to happen. So we're just going to have to, you know, roll with that punch and try to figure out where we're going to go with that. But I don't know. We actually looked at the budget for next year today, and it's grim. It is really grim.
I'm not sure how it can become more grim than what it is.
Well, I mean, you know, we're like the frog in the frying pan. You know, they just keep turning it up on us, and we're boiling away, and we don't know that that's going on. But it's very, very difficult to be the one that has to cut all the time and to implement these when, you know, we've built up a really nice a number of nice programs, and now we're going to have to start cutting them.
Well, I think it is truly grim. I mentioned the cliff that we have on one-time money next year. We're trying to save everything we can toward that, but we also know we're facing a $5 million cut in staffing costs next year as we move to that next level of reduction in the staffing, unless some additional money is infused somewhere into the system. that's pretty bleak. We're 87% of our budget is salary and benefits, and we have cut on the discretionary side just about everything there is to cut. So truly, you're either looking at eliminating benefits, cutting salaries, or cutting people, or some part
And you've
of all
already
of
cut
that.
salaries.
We have cut 14 days of salaries minimum. Some have taken a much bigger cut than that because supplemental salaries and days have been cut. But every administrator, classified person, or teacher in our system has taken at least 14 days of cut in their salary.
Is there a lawsuit coming down the pike?
I can't answer that for sure. We did have a lawsuit that dealt with
The collective bargaining?
yeah, thank you. Well, no, it wasn't collective bargaining. Oh, I just drew a blank. It was the pay for performance and
there
the
we go. I'm sorry.
one issue in a piece of legislation, and
That's
the
at the Supreme
finding
Court.
was, yeah, it's going to the Supreme Court. But at this
How about
point,
how about the districts? Although there are great limitations on how you can sue, is there a suit coming on the equalization formula?
We have no means to do that now.
Dallas, do you see that kind of a trustees? Are they talking about trying to sue to equalize?
I have not heard anything as far as a lawsuit for equalization. You know, I found in my personal life that anybody can sue anybody for anything.
True.
You know,
yeah.
it could happen. It's within the realm of possibility.
I suppose.
I truly think if any suit was going to come now, it would almost have to come from parents,
Okay.
given the changes that were made after the last lawsuit.
Lawsuit. Okay.
And if you look what happened to the facilities suit that took years and years and years, and then that never really was resolved.
Right.
Yeah, the district said
So-
the Supreme Court said
Supreme
you're out
Court's-
of, the state is out of, but they'd never had any
And
reprimand
you have separation of powers there, and they
Yeah.
couldn't force the other
Right.
to do
the other branch of the government to do anything about it.
And in the meantime, year after year,
We're facing the same thing.
It's really a bigger conversation, though. It's a national conversation
Right.
because
It
this
is.
is happening in all states. We just happen to have been lower to start with, so we're feeling the pain maybe
much
more.
more.
But it is happening everywhere.
All right. We have run out of time for this web extra. Thank you, Al. Dallas, I appreciate you joining us there in Pocatello. Linda, Penny,
Thank you
we
very much.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And appreciate you joining us. If you want more information, you want to look at the survey that shows what happened in districts across state, go to the Dialogue website at idahoptv.org. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Dialogues Web Extra.